You know that sound. It is 3 a.m., the house is pitch black, it's dead silent, and then you hear it.
The thumping.
Yes. Thump, thump, thump. Your dog is sitting at the foot of the bed, just vigorously scratching their ear with their hind leg, panting, completely miserable.
Yeah, it is a rhythm every dog owner dreads. And, I mean, the worst part isn't the sleep deprivation for you, though, that is significant.
Oh, definitely.
It is the sheer, overwhelming exhaustion you feel for them, just knowing they cannot find a single moment of peace in their own body.
That is the exact feeling, right? You see them suffering, so you immediately go into, like, fix-it mode. You buy the expensive oatmeal shampoo, I don't know, you switch them to the grain-free salmon kibble you saw advertised online.
Right, the medicated paw wipes.
Exactly, you wipe their paws every time they come inside. But, nothing changes. Weeks go by, the thumping continues, and it is incredibly frustrating. Which actually brings us to our mission for you on today's deep dive.
It's a really important one.
It is. We are drawing from a truly fantastic source today. We have an extensive transcript, complete with clinical metadata, from episode 14 of the Dog Health Academy, which is sponsored by VitalPet. And our goal is to decode what dog allergies actually are, why the symptoms are so incredibly deceptive, and how you can, systematically solve this puzzle alongside your veterinarian.
Because right now, without understanding the underlying biological mechanisms of what an allergy actually is, you are just throwing random solutions at a wall hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
Today is really about understanding the why behind the itch. Because once you understand the physiological why, well, you are equipped to be a far better advocate for your dog's health.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Nice.
because trying to solve your dog's itching by blindly switching shampoos or, buying random bags of boutique food at the pet store is basically like playing darts in the dark.
That's a great way to put it.
You might hit the dartboard by pure random luck, but realistically, you're probably just going to put a lot of expensive holes in your wall and, well, still have an incredibly itchy dog.
That is the perfect way to frame it. To turn the lights on, so to speak, we have to start by completely unlearning what we think an allergy looks like. I mean, when we hear the word allergy, our brains immediately default to our own human experiences.
Right. We picture the classic springtime allergy medication commercial.
Exactly.
The person walking through a bright field of blooming flowers, and suddenly they're sneezing into a tissue, watery eyes, runny nose, the whole congestion thing.
Yeah, that is the human blueprint, but dogs are wired fundamentally differently. We need to look at the biology. At its core, an allergy is simply an overreaction of the immune system to a normally harmless substance.
Okay, so something benign.
Right. The body encounters something completely benign, an allergen, like pollen or a food protein, and for some reason the immune system flags it as a severe, life-threatening invader.
Oh, wow.
And it mounts a massive inflammatory defense. But in dogs, the cells responsible for triggering that defense, particularly the mast cells that release histamine, they're not primarily clustered in their respiratory system like they are in us.
They aren't. Where are they?
They are densely packed in the skin, the ears, and the gastrointestinal tract.
Oh. So instead of sneezing to expel the invader, their skin is essentially sounding the alarm. They are scratching.
Exactly. That histamine release happens in entirely different tissues, which is precisely why it is so confusing for you as an owner.
Because you're looking for sneezes.
Right. You do not see your dog sneezing. You do not see them with a runny nose. So your brain doesn't immediately jump to the conclusion of allergies.
Yeah.
You just see raw, red skin and constant chewing. And you might think, it's just dry skin or a bug bite.
And looking at the sources, they point out that genetics play a massive role in how this defense system is calibrated. Certain breeds are definitively predisposed to these overreactions.
Oh, absolutely.
They specifically call out golden retrievers, bulldogs, boxers, West Highland white terriers, and German shepherds. But, and they make sure to emphasize this, any breed or any mixed breed mutt you rescue from a shelter can develop them.
Yeah, the genetic predisposition often comes down to the structural integrity of their skin barrier. In some of these predisposed breeds, the microscopic structure of their skin allows environmental allergens to penetrate more easily.
Ah, so it's a physical barrier issue too.
Yeah, which means their immune system is constantly being bombarded and might be inherently more sensitive, like more primed to overreact.
But wait, I have a major question about the timeline of that overreaction.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a golden retriever. He is 3, maybe 4 years old. He has slept on the same living room rug, played in the same backyard grass, eaten the same brand of treats his entire adult life with 0 issues.
Okay, sure.
And then suddenly, boom, he is scratching himself raw. How can a dog suddenly be allergic to his own living room after 4 years of being completely fine? That logically doesn't make any sense.
What's fascinating here is the concept of immune sensitization.
Sensitization.
Yeah, it is a biological buildup. It is not about the environment suddenly changing. It is about the dog's internal tolerance threshold finally being crossed.
Oh, I see.
Think of the immune system like a bucket. For the first few years of the dog's life, every single time they encounter a dust mite or a specific grass pollen, a little drop of water goes into that bucket.
Okay, drop at a time.
Right. The body is creating specific antibodies, specifically IgE antibodies, against that substance. It is processing the exposure, but it is slowly, quietly getting more and more reactive.
So it is building up a microscopic memory of the specific intruder, just logging it away for later.
And eventually, after repeated exposure over months or years, that internal bucket overflows. A biological switch flips.
Wow.
The immune system goes from quietly tolerating the substance to treating it like a hostile, invading army. So that living room rug that was perfectly safe for 4 years is now the trigger for a massive, cascading inflammatory response.
That is wild to think about. I mean, the trigger didn't change at all. The dog's internal alarm system is what changed. So if the alarm system is now going off and the bucket is overflowing, we have to figure out what exactly it is reacting to.
Right, the detective work.
Exactly. And according to the source material from the Dog Health Academy, when you are playing detective, you are usually looking at two main battlegrounds: what the dog is breathing and touching in their environment, and what is sitting in their food bowl.
Let's tackle the environmental battleground first, which in veterinary terms is known as atopic dermatitis.
Okay.
This includes microscopic things they inhale or that physically make contact with their skin. We are talking about tree pollen, weed pollen, mold spores, grass, and a huge, unavoidable indoor culprit, dust mites.
Dust mites, yeah. And the symptoms for these environmental allergies are so bizarrely specific. It is not just a general all-over itch.
No, it's very targeted.
The sources mention dogs obsessively scratching at their armpits and their soft underbellies. They will enthusiastically rub their faces and muzzles along your carpet or your couch to scratch an itch they can't reach with their paws.
Right, the face rubbing is classic.
And here is the symptom that really stood out to me. They lick and chew their paws so constantly that the fur actually turns a rusty reddish-brown color.
Yes, that color change is such a vital, visible clue for owners. It happens because of chemistry. Dog saliva contains complex molecules called porphyrins.
Porphyrins.
Yeah, which are essentially the breakdown products of red blood cells, and they contain iron.
Oh, iron. Okay.
So when a dog is constantly licking their paws trying to soothe that allergic itch, they're saturating the fur with these porphyrins. When those iron-rich compounds react with oxygen and sunlight, they stain the fur reddish-brown.
That makes so much sense.
If you see brown, rusty-looking paws on a white or light-colored dog, you are looking at a dog that is obsessively, chronically licking.
And there is another massive red flag for environmental allergies that owners totally miss because it seems unrelated: recurring ear infections.
Oh, this is a huge disconnect for people, and it is totally understandable.
Yeah, you take your dog to the vet for a nasty, smelly ear infection, you get the antibiotic drops, it clears up, and then 2 or 3 months later, it is back.
Yep, it's a cycle.
You just assume, my dog just has bad ears, maybe they got water in them, but you have to look at the anatomy. The skin lining the inside of the ear canal is just an extension of the dog's overall skin.
Exactly, it's all connected tissue. When environmental allergies cause systemic skin inflammation all over the body, that delicate, dark, warm ear canal gets inflamed too.
Just swelling up.
Yeah. The tissue swells, it traps natural moisture and wax, and it becomes a perfect, humid microclimate for naturally occurring yeast and bacteria to absolutely multiply out of control.
So the ear infection itself isn't the root problem. It is just a secondary symptom of the underlying allergic inflammation caused by the dust mites or the pollen.
You are treating the smoke, not the fire. Now compare that highly complex environmental battleground to the food bowl.
Food allergies. This feels like the one everyone jumps to first. It is so culturally ingrained in pet ownership right now.
100%.
If the dog is itchy, we immediately blame the grain or we blame the chicken kibble. But the sources draw a really sharp scientific line between a food allergy and a food intolerance.
And making that distinction will save you so much time and money. A food intolerance is strictly a gastrointestinal issue. It is a mechanical failure of the digestive tract.
Like it just can't process it.
Right. It is just like a human who lacks the enzyme to process dairy and gets an upset stomach. The dog eats something that doesn't agree with their gut flora, and you see gas, bloating, or loose stool. The immune system is completely uninvolved in an intolerance.
But a true food allergy is a full-blown immune system overreaction. It is that overflowing bucket we talked about.
Yes, exactly.
The immune system is attacking a specific complex protein structure. The big offenders, statistically, are chicken, beef, dairy, eggs, wheat, and soy.
Yep, those are the main ones.
And this immune response usually manifests as severe skin issues, the itching, the paw chewing, the ear infections, and sometimes you get GI issues on top of that.
To take that a step further, because it is a biological reaction to the specific molecular structure of that protein, you cannot just guess your way out of the problem at the pet store.
Which brings me to this analogy, because this is where we get it so wrong. I feel like the most common mistake we make as pet owners is blindly switching from the chicken brand to the beef brand and then to the expensive lamb brand, hoping the itching magically stops.
It never works out that way.
No, it is like trying to find a critical bug in a massive piece of computer software by just hitting restart on your computer over and over again without actually isolating and removing the bad code. You are never going to find the problem because you haven't controlled the variables in the environment.
And that trial and error method fails spectacularly because of manufacturing cross-contamination.
Oh, right.
Commercial dog food is produced in massive industrial facilities. Imagine rendering vats that hold thousands of pounds of ingredients. Even if the front of the bag proudly says limited ingredient lamb and rice, if that kibble was processed on the exact same machinery using the same vats and extruders as the chicken recipe they ran yesterday.
There's going to be chicken in it.
Exactly. There are microscopic trace amounts of chicken protein baked into that lamb kibble. For a dog with a true sensitized immune allergy to chicken, that microscopic trace is more than enough to trigger the entire inflammatory cascade.
So the bad code is still hidden in the software and you don't even know it.
Exactly. So the absolute gold standard diagnostic tool in veterinary medicine is the elimination trial.
Right.
This is an incredibly strict 8 to 12-week dietary reset directed by your vet. You usually utilize a novel protein, which means a protein source the dog has literally never encountered in their entire life, so they cannot possibly have antibodies against it, like venison, kangaroo, or rabbit. Or you use a prescription hydrolyzed protein diet.
Hydrolyzed meaning the proteins in the food have been chemically broken down by water into pieces so unbelievably small that the dog's immune system doesn't even recognize them as a threat anymore. They are essentially wearing camouflage.
They fly completely under the radar of the mast cells. But here is the brutal catch. During this 8 to 12-week period, the dog can have absolutely nothing else past their lips. No dog treats, no rawhides, no flavored toothpaste, no medications hidden in peanut butter, and absolutely no dropped table scraps.
Not even a little bit.
One single piece of dropped cheese from a dinner plate can ruin weeks of the trial, and you have to start the clock all over again.
Okay, I have to stop you there because as an owner, that requires an unbelievable, almost impossible amount of discipline. If you have a toddler walking around the house dropping Cheerios, or a well-meaning mother-in-law who sneaks the dog a piece of turkey under the table, how is an owner realistically supposed to survive 3 months of that? It feels like you are setting people up to fail.
It is arguably one of the most frustrating diagnostic processes in veterinary medicine. Vets know how hard it is. It requires family meetings, locking the trash can, and hypervigilance.
Locking the trash can?
Yeah, really.
Huh?
But it is the only definitive way to prove whether the itch is coming from the bowl or the air. You have to clear the system completely to get a baseline.
So we have the air they breathe and the food they eat. But there is a third major trigger, and the source material highlights this as the single most common cause of allergic skin disease in the United States. It is a stealth attacker, flea allergy dermatitis.
This one is incredibly insidious because of the assumptions we make as pet parents. When we hear the phrase flea allergy, we immediately picture a neglected stray dog covered in dirt crawling with hundreds of visible fleas.
Yeah, a total infestation.
But that is an infestation, not an allergy. Flea allergy dermatitis is an entirely different mechanism.
The sources make it crystal clear. A dog does not need to be infested to suffer from this. For a sensitized dog, a single solitary flea bite causes an intense, massive immune response.
Remember that overflowing immune bucket? For a dog with this specific allergy, the specific protein compounds found in flea saliva don't just add a drop to the bucket, they take a sledgehammer to it.
A sledgehammer?
Yeah, the reaction is completely disproportionate to the actual physical threat of one tiny bug.
And the symptoms for this are very localized. which is a good clue. It is not the armpits or the face rubbing like you see with environmental allergies. It is intense, manic, sudden itching around the base of the tail, the lower back, and the hindquarters.
It's awful to watch.
And this intense focus leads to something called hot spots.
Hot spots, clinically known as acute moist dermatitis, are terrifying for owners. They are alarming because the dog actually creates the wound themselves.
Wait, really?
Yes, the neurological itch from that one flea bite is so agonizing, so deep-seated, that the dog will furiously bite, chew, and scratch at their own skin. They break the skin, blood serum weeps out, and within a matter of hours, normal skin bacteria multiply in that warm moisture, creating a raw, oozing, infected lesion that spreads incredibly fast.
Okay, I have to push back on the diagnostic side of this, though. Because if I am a diligent owner and my dog is suddenly chewing their lower back raw, I am immediately going to part the fur and look for fleas. But if we are talking about one single flea on a huge, fluffy, double-coated golden retriever, I mean, how in the world is an owner supposed to find that? It is literally looking for a moving needle in a haystack that is actively running away from you.
If we connect this to the bigger picture,
Huh?
you often won't find the flea.
You won't.
No, and that is exactly what trips so many well-intentioned people up. The actual bite might have happened during a very brief passing exposure, say a 10-minute walk through some tall grass at the local park. A rogue flea jumps on, bites the dog, injects that highly allergenic saliva, and then either jumps off or gets groomed away and swallowed by the dog 5 minutes later.
So the flea is completely gone before you even get home.
The physical flea is gone, but the biological allergic cascade has already been triggered. The immune system is now in absolute overdrive, sounding every alarm, and that intense inflammatory response persists for days or even weeks after the actual bug has left the building.
That's incredible.
You can part the fur, use a flea comb, look for flea dirt, find absolutely zero evidence of a parasite, and still be dealing with a severe, debilitating flea allergy. This is exactly why you cannot effectively diagnose this yourself at home. You need a veterinarian to step in and therapeutically manage that lingering immune response.
Because when you look at it, with all these overlapping triggers, the microscopic pollen, the hidden chicken protein in the factory, the invisible hit-and-run flea, the end symptoms often look identical.
Very true.
It is just an intensely itchy, miserable dog, which brings us to the actual daily impact this has on the animal. We joke about the 3 a.m. thumping leg, but the source material really emphasizes the severe quality of life aspect. This isn't just a minor annoyance like when you or I get a mosquito bite.
Not at all. It is a state of chronic, inescapable suffering. Imagine having a severe, full-body poison ivy rash that you can never quite reach, and it never, ever goes away.
I can't even imagine.
These dogs suffer from terrible sleep deprivation because the itch is neurological and keeps them awake scratching all night.
And just like in humans, chronic sleep deprivation leads to severe behavioral and mood changes. They become irritable, they get anxious, they might snap at a dog they used to play with, or they just withdraw entirely and hide under the bed.
And physically, the constant scratching literally destroys the skin barrier. Think of healthy canine skin like a sturdy brick wall. The skin cells are the bricks, and the natural lipids are the mortar keeping the outside world out.
Okay, good visual.
When the dog is violently scratching and chewing, they are ripping out the mortar. That wall breaks down, and naturally occurring bacteria and yeast that normally just live peacefully on the skin's surface suddenly find open cracks. They get inside the tissue, multiply, and cause severe secondary infections. So now you don't just have an allergy, you have a systemic, painful bacterial infection compounding the misery.
So if the symptoms overlap and the dog is a mess, how does a vet actually sort out this tangled web?
They have to be a methodical detective. And the very first step is ruling out the mimics. Because there are severe conditions that look exactly like allergies, but require totally different treatments.
Like what?
Things like sarcoptic or Demodex mange, which are caused by microscopic mites burrowing in the skin. The vet has to take a scalpel, gently scrape the top layer of the skin, and look at it under a microscope to check for those mites. They also have to do fungal cultures to rule out ringworm or take swabs to identify primary yeast infections.
And I think people expect a quick fix, but there is no magic allergy test when a vet can just wave over the dog to get a printout of a problem.
It doesn't exist.
It is a grueling, multi-step process. Once they rule out the mites, they might move to intradermal skin testing, which is wild to read about. They literally shave a patch of fur on the dog's side, draw a grid with a marker, and inject tiny microscopic amounts of specific allergens like dust mites, ragweed, or oak pollen under the skin.
Yeah, right into the skin.
Then they wait to see which dots swell up into red hives, comparing it to a control injection of pure histamine.
It is highly precise, specialized work, often done by a veterinary dermatologist. Between those skin tests, complex blood tests looking for specific IgE antibodies, and those grueling 12-week food elimination trials we discussed, it requires extreme patience from everyone involved.
It sounds like a marathon.
But getting ahead of it early, doing the hard detective work now, prevents that compounding secondary skin damage and the behavioral issues down the road.
So what does this all mean? It means that long-term management of dog allergies isn't about finding a quick overnight cure. It is about finding hidden patterns over time. You are trying to figure out your individual dog's personal algorithm of triggers.
That's exactly it. And to find patterns, you need reliable data. This is where the source material brings in the VitalPet app.
Right, and when I first read the sources, my immediate thought was, wait a minute, an app on my phone cannot diagnose my dog's skin condition.
No, absolutely not.
But the podcast source, which is sponsored by VitalPet, is very clear about what this app is and what it isn't. It is not an AI diagnostic tool. It will not scan a photo of your dog and tell you they are allergic to beef. It is absolutely not a replacement for a trained veterinarian.
What it actually is a centralized digital organizational tool for the owner. It allows you to log every single vet appointment, keep their entire medical health history in your pocket, store blood work and lab results, track medication schedules, and most importantly, map out symptom patterns over time.
That pattern tracking is huge.
This raises an important question for you, the listener. How well are you currently documenting your pet's health? Because when you finally get into the exam room and the vet asks, when exactly did these ear infections start relative to when you switched them to the lamb kibble? Or was the paw chewing worse in April when the trees were blooming, or in July when it was humid? Human memory is terribly notoriously flawed.
Oh, yeah. We think we remember, but we blur the timelines.
We forget the crucial details.
Uh-huh.
But a well-prepared owner, armed with a documented, time-stamped history of symptoms and flare-ups, completely changes the dynamic in that exam room. You stop guessing and you start providing your veterinarian with the actual hard data they need to identify those hidden environmental or dietary patterns.
It empowers the vet.
You essentially enable the vet to give far better, much more targeted care.
So to sum it all up, your job in this process is not to play amateur veterinarian. Your job is not to guess about microscopic cross-contamination in kibble factories or hunt for phantom hit-and-run fleas in a double coat.
Right. Leave that to the pros.
Your job is to be the diligent, observant historian of your dog's daily habits, their environment, and their symptoms. Because well-managed allergies, once you finally crack that pattern with your vet, can absolutely lead to a long, comfortable, and incredibly great quality of life for your dog. They don't have to suffer.
It is a true partnership. You provide the detailed day-to-day map of what is happening at home, and the vet provides the medical compass and the science to navigate it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We've spent this whole time talking about how the modern canine immune system becomes sensitized and wildly overreacts to these incredibly everyday things. Microscopic dust mites, a piece of chicken, a blade of grass.
Right.
But think about this from an evolutionary standpoint. Dogs evolved living outside. They were eating whatever rotting scraps they could scavenge from human camps. They were constantly exposed to dirt, a myriad of parasites, and intense bacteria.
They were incredibly robust scavengers with immune systems built for a hostile world.
Right. But today, look at how they live. They sleep on orthopedic memory foam beds, inside climate-controlled, HEPA-filtered, vacuumed houses, eating highly processed, commercially sterile kibble out of stainless steel bowls.
Quite a shift.
In human medicine, there is a well-researched concept called the hygiene hypothesis, the idea that our overly sanitized modern human lives are actually causing our own immune systems to malfunction.
Oh, I've heard of this.
The theory is that because our immune systems don't have enough actual dangerous biological threats to fight off anymore, they get confused and start attacking harmless things like peanuts or pollen just to have something to do. If dogs are now developing sudden, massive immune hypersensitivities to everyday proteins and common house dust, is our increasingly sanitized, indoor, human-centric lifestyle actually shaping the canine immune system in entirely unintended ways?
It is a deeply fascinating parallel to draw. Have we altered the modern dog's environment so drastically and made their lives so sterile that their complex immune systems are essentially getting bored and deciding to wage an inflammatory war on the living room furniture instead of actual parasites.
It certainly makes you look at your dog's expensive memory foam bed a little differently, doesn't it? It's something fascinating for you to mull over next time you're vacuuming the rug and watching your dog snooze. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the canine immune system. Keep observing, keep tracking those vital patterns, and keep questioning the world around you.
And remember, you and your vet are on the exact same team.
Until next time.